What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to anyone and everyone that supports what we got going on. Special shout out to all the students at By the Hood University, as well as all the kids from our By the Hood University ownership camp that we had this summer and all the parents that help us out on the weekends as we, teach finance to the youth. I mean, it's very powerful work. And I just want to say we appreciate you guys. With that being said, I got my partner in crime as always, Corey, with me. What's up, Corey?
And you know how I feel. Never complain about living. Every day above ground is a good day.
This is absolutely true. And for those that may be tuning in for the first time, our show is dedicated to highlighting brothers and sisters who are doing amazing work in the community, building businesses, just doing all kinds of positive work. And listen, this couple we have on here, I've been following them for a couple of years at this point, just watching the work that they do. And Corey brought it up before we came on, is that anyone that we know that has done business with them on any level always has something positive to say. So we have to highlight them because the work they're doing, not just in terms of building wealth, but in terms of helping others, is very powerful. So with that being said, we have the Charm City buyers here. We have Kyra and Khalil. How are you?
Hey, good. Doing very well. Thank you for having us. We're super excited to be here.
Oh man, listen, man. Like Corey said before we started, man. There's a lot of folks. Shout out to our sister Nairobi. She's one so we have a lot of people that have that we know. We're from Philly. You guys are in Baltimore, so it's a lot of crossover. But everybody has something positive to say about you guys. Man, you guys are doing amazing work.
Yeah, Philly, is Baltimore's cousin up the street. And I'm from PA, so Philly's always going to have a special place in our heart. But yeah, Nairobi, she's part of our Next Gen Takeover, one of our mentees. So love her, super proud of everything she's doing and proud to be part of her journey.
Absolutely. So listen, let's start with you guys. Let's talk about your background. Let's talk about your story. How did you guys actually get into the business? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah. So we started shortly after college, and it was something that I hadn't anticipated. I think Kyra had. She had always been growing up thinking about real estate, talking to her mom about it. In fact, she's got a pretty cool story about ancestral heritage.
Yeah, so for me, I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so outside of Lincoln University. I usually explain it like I used to hear parties from Lincoln in my bedroom growing up. And so as a child, we learned a lot about our ancestors, a lot about our family who started this community, this town called Hensonville, literally on the land that Lincoln University sits on. And so during that time period, I didn't understand at the time. It was just a bunch of people talking about a whole bunch of stuff. But now as an adult, I realized that planted a lot of seeds for me to be interested in real estate, in building community, in understanding even our power and our agency and our ability to do amazing things. Like if they were able to create an entire town in the 1820s, why can't we take ownership in our neighborhoods and our cities today? And so what happened was, when I graduated college, Khalil had already graduated a year before me, and we were trying to figure out what it was that we wanted to do, what it was we were looking to do and accomplish. Understanding that a pension probably wasn't finna be for us to wait and put it in somebody else's hands. Like that was the time period when they were talking about Social Security running out of money. And all of a sudden we're like, nah, we're not playing this game with y'all. So it was really about how, what was it that we were going to do together? And also, what did we want to do individually in order to accomplish those goals? And real estate checked the most boxes for us both, knowing that was something that I always wanted to do anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So we always wanted to make a positive impact on the world, right? But not just the community, the entire world. We always wanted to build wealth and have something kind of legacy that we could pass forward and continue building that money to afford the lifestyle that we always wanted and dreamed about. And like Kyra said, real estate checked a lot of boxes for me. I knew off break from a very young age that corporate was not me. It just wasn't. Entrepreneurship, 100%. So whatever I was going to do, it was going to involve some type of ownership, leadership, directing, and making sure that the strategy and the vision meets the execution. So real estate was it.
Oh man, that's amazing. Couple things there. So I went to Lincoln University, right?
Okay.
And when I would leave campus, it was kind of sketchy. Like I didn't know Black folks lived in Oxford. Well, Oxford was the town right outside.
Yeah, absolutely. There are I could have a whole thing on this specifically. So let's be very clear. But my mom's entire side of her family and the entire side of my dad's family. So generationally, we have 4 or 5 generations at a time in Oxford, in Lincoln University. There are Black people who live there, who've been there.
And I say that jokingly.
Don't play with me, okay?
No, I say that jokingly, but the thing is though, when you leave like Lincoln University, right? So when you're on campus, like when you pull off campus, it's a little different. Like you're in the.
Listen, I drive by there. Listen, every time I go to BWI to the airport, I drive past there, and I was like, man, ain't nothing but cornfields out this joint. Like actual people live out this joint.
Actually, people actually live there, and there are complete areas. So you went to Lincoln, so about like the Lincoln Village that's over there, and all of that. So all that land, all of it, like where the school is nearby, everything around. My family owned all of that. Wow. So there was even in Oxford,
that's a lot of land.
That's a lot of land, all of it, all the way down to Oxford, like getting down to Oxford. My family owned all of that in the early 1800s.
There's history books about it. They talk about it, the family reunions. Yeah. I mean, it's a
big deal. And so that kind of set the foundation for me, I think, in just understanding really the power that we hold, and how to. I think it really taught me to question what they try to teach us about us. Even living in a town like Oxford, right? What does that mean for all of these Black folks that live here? And it's us not learning to drive by passing Amish buggies and stuff. What does that mean for what we're told about who we must be versus what we know from what runs in our veins as power?
That is power. That's a powerful story right there. That's an amazing testimony. So let me ask you guys a question. What colleges did you guys go to, and what were your majors? What were you looking to do?
Yeah, great question. So I graduated from Lehigh University. I was a business management major and economics.
Yes, and I went to Lafayette College. I was an econ major as well. So I did economics and finance. Okay.
All right. Nice. So I mean, hey, you fit right into what you guys are doing now. It wasn't one of those crazy stories. People have these majors and they end up, and a lot of folks end up in real estate. They were like pre-med, all kinds of craziness. But you guys are actually doing the work for your degrees. That's dope. So let me ask you a question. What was that first deal like? How did you actually get into the game?
Yeah, so that first deal, we started, Kyra had a great job. Her college kind of internship rolled into a full-time leadership position in Connecticut. And I lived at home for about a year and decided to move up. When we got there, we were trying to looking at each other, sitting on the couch, vision boarding. Okay, real estate. This is it. This is what we're going to do. We need to start finding a property. So we found a 3-unit multi right there in Hartford. It was a shell. And we decided to just go all in on it.
Yeah, so we bought the 3-unit shell. So we bought it for about $26,000 and needed about $120,000 worth of renovation. So we had a whole lot going on in that process of figuring out what we were going to do and how we we're going to do it, and ended up working with a nonprofit to secure the funds for that rehab and then turn that vacant house into a home for 3 families. We actually still own the property. Our very first tenant still lives there. And really that property set the foundation for a lot of what we do now when it comes to the size of the rehabs that we're doing and the types of renovations that we've done, and also how we interact with our tenants, how we think about building communities. A lot of that started with that very first deal that happened to be in Connecticut before we moved back home, because close, born and raised from Baltimore. Obviously, Lincoln, Oxford is only about an hour and 20 minutes up the road. So prior to moving down here, we set all that foundation in Connecticut.
Okay, interesting. So a couple things can come from that. One of the things that I find most amazing about you guys is how you do everything together, right? And that's powerful. So I have to ask a question about that with you guys. Like, how has it helped you finding a partner that you can just build with?
Yeah, it helps a lot. So, I mean, there's no question about it, especially when that partnership is aligned, it's mission aligned, it's aligned kind of at the core values. So for us, like everybody's got 24 hours in a day, right? For us, because it's a partnership, we have 48. So we can work together and like bounce off of each other. When I'm slacking, she can pick up. When she's slacking, I can pick up, and we can kind of keep on rocking and rolling, and the business continues to grow. And the people who benefit are the buyers, are the tenants, are our mentees. because we constantly work at it.
Yeah, and starting off too, we were very intentional about our conversation. So when we were doing kind of vision boarding and mapping out what this whole thing was going to look like us together, we went about that like our marriage was almost negotiate. Like, I don't want to say it that way, but that sounds kind of crazy, but very intentional.
But marriage is a business. Right?
Marriage is a business. And so we're able to balance our purpose and our mission and our vision together with all like the lovey-dovey cute stuff. You know, we can be the cute couple and all that good stuff. So that's cool too. But we're very intentional about what we do and how we do it, which is why I think we work really well together business-wise, and why we're kind of pulled together personally in order to kind of hit this purpose as a unit together. But it is dope to be able to work with your spouse and your partner when you're yoked in that way.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm glad you said that, right? Because I just, a shout to Andre Hatchett. I just sat down to his podcast and I literally said the same thing you just said. So I'm glad someone else reiterated. I said, when you have a spouse that you're in line with, you create time. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad you said that, because I agree with that 1,000%. Because even if you guys talking about vision boarding together, that's like amazing. Like, you know, I'm about to get off this call and go vision board with my wife, like just because I got inspired by you guys. Like.
It's such a dope process. We even had our daughter do it at some point too. She was doing a vision board as well. Like, it's really great to give yourself that time to have imagination and be able to visualize, put that into paper, and then articulate it. Like, really be able to say it out loud and watch those things happen. That vision board we did at 21 years old, we watched that stuff happen over the last, couple decade or so. Watch that come to be.
Let me ask you this question too, because like I said, we talked about this earlier. One of the things about you guys is your reputation is stellar. Anybody that's ever done business with you always talks about how you're for the people. Is that something about how you were raised? Like, were you raised to be community minded? Because a lot of what you do is not just about the real estate, but you guys focus on community. Does that come from, your upbringing, or where's that come from?
100%. Yeah, no question about it. So my parents were very much pro community, making sure that you lift as you climb. My dad used to always tell me, like, wherever you go, I don't care if you go into a restaurant, I don't care if you go into the White House, you leave it better than when you came. Like, and that could go from like physical, tangible, pick up a piece of trash and make sure it's cleaner, or it could be like leave the room with a different energy and make sure that everybody's happy and smiling and positive, right? So like 100%, that upbringing is crucial. So for us, family's important. Our daughter is important. We got to go together.
Yeah, and for me too, I think one thing that happened along that journey is we had set some really big goals when we started out. Like, mine was I wanted to leave my full-time job by the time I was 30, and I wanted to work full-time in real estate. And I did that at like 27, which was great. But what I found was having a goal that was monetary didn't fulfill like really what was going on, or what I was like my purpose, right? And so by not fulfilling my purpose, I found the need to figure out what that was and how to walk in my purpose and how important that process was. And so from there, kind of the shift happened from, okay, we're going to chase these dollars and we're going to build and it's going to be about us and all of that, to having rentals and being a landlord is really great. But to close that wealth gap and build Black wealth, we need to create homeowners, right? Like, we had to shift business models and all of those types of things in order to make that type of stuff happen. And so it really became, how do we walk in our purpose every day? Yeah, our purpose is going to help create a lifestyle. We're going to be able to keep a roof over our head. But our purpose is what grounds us in being able to sleep very well every night, and be able to make sure that each day we're spending our time doing what's really, what really and truly matters.
Yeah, that's amazing. So in terms of the work you're doing now on the investment side, do you focus on any particular property type, single family, multifamily? Like, what is right now, what are you guys kind of focused on?
Yeah, so it's a mixture. So it's a mixture between multi and single family. When we're focused on home ownership, that's going to a lot of times be single family as far as the renovations and stuff that we're doing. A lot of our mentees, because it's us, of course, but then we've like expanded our spheres so much. So a lot of our mentees are focused on multis. They'll do some single families as well, but a lot of them are really heavy on multifamily properties. But yeah, we're doing a mixture of both. A lot of our properties, we're turning these vacant houses all over Baltimore into homes. So doing large scale renovations, blighted properties, and not only making them fully renovated homes, but also keeping them historic. So we have a nice little mixture in there.
Yeah, so like rehabs, new construction, we kind of touch it all.
Okay, so and one thing I didn't ask is how long ago did you guys get down to Baltimore?
So we came back to Baltimore in 2013?
12, end of 12,
Yeah,
12,
maybe end of
12,
12.
13, yeah, something like that.
So how has the real estate landscape changed in Baltimore since you've been there to now?
I've been talking to developers who've been in the game 40, 50 years, and they're like, I've never seen this much development.
Right.
Like there's just so much happening between new projects going up, between government funded and subsidized programs and apartments and things, infrastructure work being done all over the place, commercial developments happening. There's so much happening. We got in at the right time. But the best part about that is that now is still a really good time to get in.
Yeah.
There's still areas where the development and the that wave that happens as a result is starting to kind of trickle into new spaces that still have relatively inexpensive stock and property. So we're just riding it at this point.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's like Corey, you asking you want to take it, brother?
Yeah. So when you buy at a certain price point and in certain neighborhoods, and then you redevelop these neighborhoods, what is the response from the people that live in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, so the thing about us, if we going into a spot, especially if we're new there, we're gonna be like fixtures there. You're gonna see us on the block. We're gonna talk to the people up the street. Somebody got a car wash business they're doing in the backyard. Best believe my car's pulling up, right? So there is that, because we become of and part of that community. And we are really big on, a lot of times, all the time, actually, we're buying vacant blighted properties, right? So properties that have been sitting empty for 20, 30 years sometimes. So when we come in and we're the only people who not only buy the house, because a lot of people can buy a cheap house, not everybody's actually getting it done. So we're coming in, getting them completed, and turning this into spaces to bring in more life. People are excited when they see us in neighborhoods and really actually getting the work done. And not just that, making sure that people who own their properties or tenants there or whatever, that they're able to be part of that change, be able to keep their taxes low. If we're doing a house and it's raising the property values, it's great for the homeowners because they're able to build wealth, but not if they're on fixed income and their taxes skyrocket. And so we're able to make sure we're informing the community association, homeowners, all of these folks on how to take advantage of things like the homestead tax credit, for example, and keep their taxes low so they can ride our wave of, raising property values and build wealth rather than having the displacement. So we're really big on development without displacement. So the way to do that is to be of and for the community, focusing on what the community wants in their own neighborhoods rather than just coming in and cashing out, but also educating folks on how to make sure that this transition or any transition is positive for them. Because if it's not us, it's going to be someone else, right? So we have to be very intentional about making sure not only are we there doing the work, but if we can't be all places at all times, that's why we have things like Next Gen and our mentorship to make sure that there's folks who think like us, who know what they're doing and have the right intention, are doing things in other neighborhoods simultaneously the same way. You'll find them hanging out on the, hanging them out on the corners in the community as well, because that's what we coach them and teach them to do.
That's awesome.
So also the other thing, I see, they be having things like the Zero Violence Baltimore and all of that kind of stuff there. What kind of impact does your redevelopment have on those kind of initiatives?
So when you think about kind of like a vacant property, or even a vacant block, right? And you think about those impacts, it's an eyesore, yes. It's deteriorated, it's ugly, sure. But there's negative energy too, right? There's infestations, there's rodents, there's potentially violence and crime. There's kids who have to walk by those properties day in and day out, back and forth, going to school, and they look at it and it's literally a symbol of, okay, the local government they haven't invested in here. They haven't invested in the community in which I live. If they don't care about it, why should I? So then it's throwing trash and dumping and all these types of things. But when we come in and we take pride in the legacy residents and ensuring that the legacy residents can take advantage of the different things that are happening. When we come in and we fix those up, then all of a sudden, okay, cool. Like it almost like compounds the different efforts that are happening, right? So if there's a zero violence program, or if there's all these types of different programs and initiatives, and then at the same time, for-profit developers like us are coming in too, it amplifies it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we're all about collaboration. So a lot of the organizations that are doing amazing work in Baltimore, we all have our role. We play our position and we support and collaborate and do whatever we can for everyone else, because collectively, that's how we see the change. Because if it's not us, right? If it's not us, it's going to be someone else. And I think that's something that a lot of people have in Baltimore really appreciated about the work that we do. And beyond that, I think Khalil hit on something really important. And I always sum it up as like, we have to see the opportunity in our neighborhoods first. And we can't really, it's hard to expect someone to see value and opportunity in their own neighborhoods, in themselves and all these things, when you're literally walking through decay every day. Like that's the houses that we're doing. There's a front wall and a tree growing up the middle that nobody's thought about in a couple decades. Like that transformation in just visually seeing something different. And then you see us with our daughter pulling up and doing the work, like that changes the narrative from the inside out as we're changing our communities from the outside in.
That's amazing work.
Absolutely, it is. It's so powerful. One of the things about you guys is like, and you mentioned it a couple of times, the properties, the projects you take on. Like, again, following you on social media, I'm like, whoa, listen, I'm someone who develops property, and I see some of the stuff you guys tackle, and I'm like, oh, that's. What made you like focus on that? And and first of all, you got to have good people that work with you to be able to even take on some of those projects. So how did you get to the point where those are the projects you want to take on?
Hold on. I want to rephrase that question for Jim. How do you find contractors that's willing to work with you?
No, that's a big part of it. But the other part of it is like just to have the audacity to take on some of that. Like if you go to their page and see some of the projects they take on.
Oh, I know. I've been here.
Yeah, they take on some projects. Like
for those of you who are listening now, check out our page, charmcitybuyers.com. You'll see the projects that they're talking about. Literally, like
Charm City Buyers on Instagram.
Yeah, these houses are disinvested. When I say disinvested, I mean like decades. They got trees and weeds and everything else growing out of them. How do we get there? So we started with rentals, right? We started with a rental portfolio. We were excited about that. We grew it to a place where we both were full time, and then we started flipping. And what we realized is that like really, you don't know what's behind the walls of a project that you just buy. So at some point, you just got to take it all out and start over. And those are the contractors that we work with. Yeah.
So our very first deal was $120,000 renovation. So we started with big, large, gut projects. So we always had the audacity, because the first time we did it, honestly, was an accident to do it ourselves. And so that set the foundation for not being afraid, for having the audacity to do these larger projects. And being in Baltimore, that inventory is there, right? And so we don't have a lot of competition for the properties that we buy. But really, that contractors, when you talk about construction, now we can give our own, list of heartache when it comes to construction and contractors along that journey. Don't get that twisted. But at this point, we've kind of gotten to a space where literally earlier this year, we actually acquired the general construction company that we have been working with for the last couple of years, which has been a really, really great collaboration and partnership to have a little bit more of that control. Now, lumber prices were starting to get crazy. So it was like, all right, we got to do something. But yeah, over that time, just really, we talk a lot about building a bench when it comes to creating your construction team and making sure you have options, that you're networking, that when you see somebody, when you're driving around and you see some construction trucks, you pull over and figure out who they are or walk through the property, or someone's at Home Depot or Lowe's super early in the morning waiting for them to unlock the doors, right? Getting those indicators on how you can build your network, test some folks out, and then make sure that you always have options so that you can hire slow and fire fast. So you're keeping your projects going when things do happen. It's not if, it's when.
It's going to happen.
That's an amazing piece of advice right there. That's an amazing piece of advice. So, hire. Yeah, that's a clip right there.
And fire fast.
Hire slow, fire fast. But even before that, the whole idea of when you're riding by and you see projects to walk through what their work looks like and get their cars and always be looking to add to the. I think that's an amazing piece of advice right there.
Always. Even though we like Kyra said, we acquired the construction company that we've been working with over the last few years, but we still have to constantly look, right? Because we need subcontractors. We still have to constantly keep that bench full. I think for us, it was for our projects, yes, absolutely, but it's also for our mentees projects, because we know how difficult it is to find contractors, and they've expressed it up. We're like, okay, well, we have to do something about this, right? We're providing them the knowledge, the education, the resources, the tools. Well, let's go ahead and provide them the construction team too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome right there, right?
You're the best, man.
It's something else you said. It's something else you said too, right? So I told you, I look at your projects and I'm like, man, the audacity. And I think it's also because of the housing stock too, right? So I'm at the point now in Philadelphia, when I do a project, I knock it all the way down to the studs too. But it's like most of the properties here, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 stories. You guys in Baltimore got some huge buildings. Or as y'all would say, but y'all got some huge buildings. Like, what's the square footage of like one of those 3-story buildings in Baltimore? Like, what's the average square footage out there?
Yeah, they can get up to 3,000 square feet. Yeah. I mean, probably on average about 2,800.
That's insane,
man.
Finish out the basement, you get more.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be really big, and when you're doing those guts, right? When you're taking everything down to the studs. First of all, it's a lot of lumber for everyone that's been paying attention to everything that's going on here. But even outside of that, because the houses have been sitting for so long, sometimes you have those structural issues. So like the brickwork is starting to deteriorate, and you have, all of these different pieces. And then if you want the full basement, you got to underpin, you got to do all this stuff. So it kind of compounds on top of stuff. But yeah, Baltimore homes are big. They can be big and beautiful. And then we also have some homes that are, less than 1,000 square feet. And so there's a lot of diversity in the housing stock, from small, super tiny row homes to big row homes to single family houses. We have everything, anything and everything.
And when you open up the walls and go down to the studs, and you can do fun things that the market wants, right? You can create those open floor plans that the market wants. You can put islands in kitchens instead of having everything blocked up. You can put the staircase at a different space to make sure that it's a more functional layout. We want to make sure that not only are we providing safe and quality homes, but also a product that will last well into the future that people want in this current market.
Nice.
I got one last question. Have you had any pushback from the politicians and things of that and the the RCOs and stuff like that? I mean, the neighborhood, NCOs, the neighborhood councils and stuff like that. Have y'all had a lot of pushback from them?
Have not.
No. We get invited to all the events.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you know what I think helps with that too, because we always have Michaela now. See, Michaela's
there you go.
We got the one that
greasing the wheels.
Gotta grease them just a little bit. But no, I mean, I think it's really about intentionality, and I think sometimes you do have situations where you're working with and trying to support folks, and everyone wants to have their hands in all of the different pieces. And for us, we try to incorporate as many people, from political spaces to community associations to nonprofits. Like, we work with a lot of different people in the city in a lot of different ways. And I think I'm grateful for the fact that a lot of people want to see us win. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that also goes back to us being very purposeful and intentional, and really walking in trying our very, very best to do the right thing day in and day out. And so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you one word you mentioned a couple of times that I think is important, I want to point out, is intentionality. Yep. You guys are intentional with a lot of your actions, and I think that's amazing right there. Tell us about this Next Gen program you have, about your mentorship. How did that come about, and what does that entail?
Yeah, so Next Gen, that's our baby. That's my baby. But Next Gen is our mentorship program. And really, this came about, I was thinking about this recently. When we first bought the block, we have reached out to a bunch of people who were talking about getting into real estate and said, hey, we have these properties. We want to split them off and everybody do a few. But nobody was ready. And so no one stepped to their plate. So obviously, we decided to go ahead and do it ourselves. But we were like we have to do something about this. Not only can we not take on the entire city, we can only do so many properties at once, but also we want to be able to create our partners for the future. When we're going after these huge apartment buildings, or we want to do large RFPs, and we want to bring everybody in with us, we need to know that one, people are ready, that they know what they're doing, and that they're prepared to make it happen right alongside us. And so that actually set a lot of the foundation for what Next Gen is and what it became. And that's to provide the resources, the guidance, and the tools for folks to find success in real estate in Baltimore and to build wealth for themselves and their family. Because we are big on the fact that you can do both. You can do well for yourself and you can do well for the people. And so that's what Next Gen is all about. So it's 12 months of there's a curriculum, there's tons of group coaching, there's tons of resources to the specificity of, I have this inspection coming up in this neighborhood and I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z, and the inspector said this, and we're like, oh, such and such, oh, we know him. Let's make sure that it's going the way it needs to go. So because we're focused on Baltimore, we're able to really, really guide folks and make sure that they're not just joining something, but they're coming in and they're buying property and they're helping us buy back the block collectively and finding success in Baltimore.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Tell us about that when you guys bought the block. Like, what was that process like, and what was that experience like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a lot of fun. So we're looking at different properties, and we actually sent out a bunch of letters. And then one of the responses came up, and we're like, okay, so we look out the area, we check it out. And then the appraiser came through, a little while longer in the process. And he's like, look, it's hard to appraise this one. Like all these across the street, look at them. Like you got two choices. You either don't do this one or you do them all.
Yeah. And we knew there was tons of stuff happening and coming in that neighborhood. Yep. So we knew what was happening. We knew why there was value in even marketing into this area. And so, yeah, it was like, you do this one, cool, but you need to do all the rest of them. And that's what really set the tone. Yeah. And so we went
go harder, get bigger, dream bigger, like just keep on constantly elevating, go for it. Yeah.
And for us too, it became, let's show, everyone can see that we've done this, we have the rentals, we have this portfolio and all that's great. But it's time to turn it up a notch. Like, how do we really show folks what we can do and what they can do as a result?
Oh, that's amazing, man. The one thing I'll say about you guys is, and this is no shot at anybody, but I'm online a lot. And you see a lot of people on social media that haven't really accomplished what you accomplished, but their ego is like just somewhere else. but you guys have the results, you have the receipts, and you guys remain so humble. Like, intentionality, obviously, but how is it that you guys remain so humble? Because I'm telling you, like, I see people that have accomplished a tenth of what you have, and but you guys are very humble, and I think that's impressive.
Yeah, by recognizing that there's so much more. I think for us and for me, like there's still people who don't know how to buy a primary home, who don't know how to invest in property, who don't know how to build wealth. And as long as there's people still out there in my city, in our city, I feel like there's still more work to do. So staying humble by keeping my head down, keep on working. All right, what's the next step? What's the next dream? What's the next vision? How do I get closer to it? How do I accomplish X, Y, and Z? I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, I think for me, I've actually started to try to get away from the word humble, and I'll tell you why. I looked it up, and it talks a lot about your self-worth. And I was like, okay, let's not be. So lately, you've probably noticed we share a little bit more about what our vacation, when we flying out somewhere, what that actually looks like, right? Or if I'm not always in a t-shirt in Timberlands at a construction site, like what does that actually look like? Because I think that there's also a value in seeing that we've kind of earned the right to show the other side. But what I think everyone is feeling is the lack of, we don't have a huge ego, right? And I think the reason for that, at least for me, is that I know the only difference between me and anybody else, or difference between us and anybody else, is that we had the audacity to not believe what they told us, and we didn't quit. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it just kept going. No matter what was thrown at us, no matter when it came, no matter how it came and presented itself. All right, well, what's the solution? Let's work towards it. Let's get it done. Let's get to the solution.
That's the difference. So that's what people feel when they connect with us, is that we know that you can do it too.
Yeah.
It's just what you're willing to do.
That's why your reputation is stellar.
Yeah. But I think what you said is important too, right? So you said something actually that was very important about, like, showing the other side, right? So, and I guess you are right when you said it's not about necessarily being humble, it's about the ego. You guys don't have the inflated ego that other people have. But it is important to show the other side because representation matters, right? So I often think about just how further along I would have been if I would have had more people that looked like me that were doing some of the things in business or real estate, when I was younger. So it's important to show that so people can see that the folks that look like us are doing these things. So that's a great point. Yeah, it's a great point.
And it took me a while to get there because I felt I felt a way about showing that kind of stuff. I really did. I still work on it.
Yeah, same. And there's still some times when I'm like, no, we gotta like get back to the gritty.
Yeah,
and,
put on some sneakers. Put on some Air Forces.
I need to walk through some vacant properties or something. But no, it is important. Like we
gotta normalize
it. Get shaped up and look nice and go out and have good.
Yeah, but it's difficult too, though, right? Because it's in line too. You don't. It's a struggle with me as well. You don't want to come off as bragging, right? So it's it's a constant struggle. So all right, I understand exactly where you guys are coming from. But along this crazy journey you guys have had, which is amazing, your story is phenomenal. What has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome?
Mindset.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I think mindset is just the biggest hurdle, and it's not something that that goes away, right? It's a constant kind of thing in the back of you. You have to constantly tell yourself, like, I'm capable or I'm worthy or whatever that next challenge is. I can get there and I can pass that and I can move on and I'm excited to fail forward and all those types of things. Yeah. But I think like mindset is at least 51% more than that. Yeah, 80% of the journey.
Yeah, it's big. And I agree with Khalil because every level requires a new version of you and you have to be open and willing to experience that version. And there's been plenty of times, because Khalil and I are always like leveling ourselves up, right? We don't try to level up nobody else. We're always competing with ourselves. And sometimes even that is like, whoo, okay, we're gonna buy the construction company too. Lord, all right, we're just gonna start new construction. We're gonna do this. We're gonna buy the block. That's all a lot. And so every new level just requires a new level of belief in yourself and your abilities and what you're looking to do and accomplish. And so we've been really intentional about surrounding ourselves with people who normalize what we're doing and what we go through and how we're feeling, and give us something to reach for as we continue to move on and hit those new heights. But mindset is key.
I'll give you an example, a quick one here. When before we started flipping, we focused on rentals, right? Building up our rental portfolio, and that was so that the residual income could pay for our lifestyle without us having to work a 9 to 5, which we accomplished. Right? Kyra left her job shortly after I left mine. Everything fully occupied, cash flowing positive. We were straight. We didn't have to do anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. Kyra was like,
you really no,
I didn't. I'm like, we Gucci. Listen, we got X number of rentals. We can pile up the money. We snowball it into another one. We could buy a rental every couple of months and be Gucci. So, but Kyra looked at it and was like, no, we need to do more. And I had to stretch myself. It's like, okay, what's that next level, right? At the end of the day, and you said it earlier, representation matters. We're doing a disservice to people if they don't see folks like us, young, Black, in the community, balancing wealth and positive impact and actually winning, right? Yeah. So like, if we don't show that, then we're doing a disservice not only to ourselves, not only to Baltimore, but to the world, to the culture. I think for me, it was like, all right, well, that's a mindset piece. I got to overcome that so that we can keep our foot on the gas.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And you got the cheat code because you guys got each other to keep pushing each other, right?
And we sure do that.
Sure do.
He got me a couple weeks ago. I was like, all right, let me get myself together.
Nice. That's dope. That's dope. Let me ask you guys a question. So what is your favorite book or book that's inspired you along this journey?
Yes. My favorite, I have a few that I read every year. For
what are they? You don't have to be one. Give us the few that you read.
Okay, so every year around January, I'll read the 10X Rule. I'll read E-Myth Revisited every year. I'll read what's the other one? There's one other one that everyone like. I have to think about it, but some of the ones, and they're all for something different. Some are mindset, some are like, let's go get it, let's build. But I have a few books that I read at the top of each year.
Yeah. And if I had to answer that question, the two books that stick out in my mind, one, The Secret, all about the law of attraction. And then two would be True North. And that's one of my favorites. And that's like, if you think about a compass, east, west, north, south, like you can be on a path, but it might not be the right direction. You got to find your true north as you, as an individual, as a person, find what your why, and move towards your true north. And that book kind of has exercise and all kind of stuff, but it's a great read.
That's interesting. Out of all the books, that's the only one I haven't read. Is True North. I got to look that up. True North.
True North.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the first time we heard that one.
Yeah, I think we got to add that to the book list.
Yeah, add it to our book list. That's the first time we heard. That's a good one. Good one. Oh man, listen. So you guys are just amazing. You've inspired me during this talk. I mean, Corey, I don't know about you, good brother, but like,
oh man, listen, I'm ready to get in the trenches. I'm ready to put on some Timbs.
Man, listen, I didn't even have any appointments. Now I'm about to go hit this. I'm about to go like driving for cash now. Like I'm truly inspired because for one, I love the energy. You guys give off great energy. I love the way you guys work together. It's truly an inspiration. And the one thing that we're kind of aligned in terms of what we do with By the Hood, we talk about, financial services, but we're community based. And I see that in you guys as well. So it's very inspiring to see someone that thinks about the community, and that word intentionality is important to you. So I just want to say thank you for one.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. And you're welcome. We absolutely love it. We love it.
Listen, man, and what you guys are doing is important to the culture. So please keep up the good work, man. We're going to make sure that we share links to your website, all your social media within the show notes, as well as the video. So just want to say thank you. We appreciate you, and please continue to do the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you
so much. Corey, you got anything else before we got here, brother?
Man, I'm kind of like,
you ready to go running now, huh?
Yeah, right. Like, like I never wanted to be a landlord, and then now I'm like, man, I should reconsider that. Because I own property, but I don't want to be a landlord. Corey flips. Yeah, I never wanted to be a landlord, but now I'm like, man, maybe I should. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, flipping can get you rich, and that's dope. Having rentals, being a landlord makes you wealthy. Got to switch it up.
I mean, I take the money and put it into other investment vehicles, but I just don't. I'm not.
Hey, listen. What he's giving you?
Like, I don't want to deal with people every day. Like, so that's more of my reservation with it than money or any of those other things.
Listen, he's giving you guys a compliment because now you got him thinking about it. I've been trying to get him to be a landlord.
Listen, I work with somebody who does this every single day, and it's just off my plate. And then when I'm looking, I might want to look into that.
Yeah, there's ways to set it up. So, like, if you're clear on what it is that you want, what you're trying to accomplish, what your non-negotiables are, you can set things up in a way that's going to fit those. But if, like, landlord doesn't have to be everybody's thing either, right? So I'm not the person that says everybody needs to be a landlord. I don't believe that. Yeah. So if you put it somewhere else and it's doing what it needs to do, then that's cool too. But yeah, so we can talk about that offline.
I'm actually impressed because you got him inspired.
Yeah, to even think about being a landlord, you just don't know how big of a compliment that is. I don't want to get involved in that at all.
I'm glad you started.
So listen, everybody out there, please go follow Charm City Buyers, man. They're doing legendary work. These are legends in the making right here. So I want you guys to please follow their journey. Look at some of the projects that they're doing, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with those big Baltimore homes. And continue to do the work that you're doing, with the next gen, because I think that's important as well. That's amazing work. To our audience out there, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we'll talk to you guys in our next episode. Peace.